All right, we're about to do this. Welcome, 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 everybody. Last call for Omi Tutu before we get started. This is the School of Orisha Studies, and we are all set to get some insight and feedback into our experience here in the certification for Ori. So I want to thank everybody for joining us and making this magnificent run through what is going to prove to be one of the most significant and enduring rituals and ceremonies of your practice. What we have started to learn in this certification, and what some of you have already been familiar with and you're expanding upon, is the foundation for your spiritual development. This is a ritual sequence that you're going to continue for all perpetuity. This is something that will never go away, right? If you're initiated, you're going to do this ritual for the rest of your career. If you're not initiated and you never get initiated, you're going to do this ritual for the rest of your career. This is your bread and butter, right? This is the foundation for your spiritual development, because this is how you are able to commune with Ori and create the space by which you will be able to then thereby get guidance and insight from other divinities, as well as position yourself to be able to effectively direct the divinities. And that's a really key pivotal lesson that I want you to understand why this is so valuable. When I first started this practice, I was a caseworker in a halfway house in Los Angeles, and as this was a special halfway house. This is a halfway house for Cuban Marielitos. Los Marielitos were the like in the 80s. Fidel Castro did a real classic SU move on the United States, where the United States was attempting to say we were going to free. We want to liberate all these Cuban people, right? There's all these Cubans who are seeking asylum, and they want to come to the United States. And so Castro said, "Oh, you want to take some of the people? Well, if they don't want to be here, fine, take them." And so the United States was counting this great victory. Well, the people that Castro liberated were all criminals. He emptied the jails, put them on a boat, and sent them to the United States. All of them were criminals, every one of them, or 99% of them were criminals. It's called the Mariel boat lift, so you can look it up. And affectionately, they were known as Los Marielitos. So anyway, these guys, if they came to the United States under this political asylum, they were not ordinary citizens. They were under the jurisdiction of the INS, Immigration and Nationalization Service, I think is INS stands for. Anyway, so they are under the jurisdiction of INS. So if a Marielito committed a crime, if he stole a pack of bubble gum, or he stuck up a jewelry store, or if he was selling crack or anything, if he committed any crime, he would not go to a local jail. They would have to go to a federal prison, and they'd have to await special kind of trial, and then they'd be released, and they would have to go to halfway house. But they couldn't go to an ordinary halfway house because they were federal citizens. I don't know if you would call them. They were under the jurisdiction of the federal government, specifically the INS. So there were only 2 of these halfway houses in the country. One was in Miami, and one was in LA. So I was working in this in this halfway house. And this was years and years and years ago. And like I said, I don't think I had, no, I didn't even have a hand of Ifa. I had nothing. I just was somebody who was very keenly interested in the tradition. I had my name. I had gone through the process of correcting my name, right? And so I had met Babalade, my first teacher, by that point. But that's all I had done. So this is in the very, very, very beginning. And anyway, so in the process, I would talk to all these Cuban guys, and I would ask them about Santeria, which they were very familiar with. And there was one guy, Beto. Beto was the son of Obatala, real solid older brother, strong, calm. You know, he was clearly leader amongst the people, right? Super understated, but like he would change the tone of a room with a look. Beto Colas was his name. And so anyway, Beto and I became close. And I would talk to Beto, and he was like a confidant. He would tell me all kinds of stuff. And I had 1,000,001 questions, right? Because I've been trained as a counselor. So I loved asking questions and, you know, learn from people in that way. Anyway, Beto says to me, I need to go to a temple. This is what's been going on. You know, it's been so many years. I haven't made Ebo. I haven't done anything. I need to go to a temple. So I said, no worries, Beto. I'll find something for you. And in the process, I ended up finding Faxina Falade, who is the pioneer of Ifa in the United States. If you don't know Faxina Falade is largely responsible for what you now see Oketache in Ile-Ife, where they do the reading of the year. That place, Oketache, that you see that now, it's painted all white and glowing, and the stairs are red, and it's got a sign. All of that is the work of Faxina Falade of Los Angeles. When Faxina Falade first went to Ile-Ife, it was in ruins. There was nothing like that, nothing like that. And you can go back if you have the opportunity and you start going and research the pictures, images of Oketache from 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, and then boom, Faxina Falade gets there and he starts, you know, renovating, right? And bringing attention to all of the things that we know now. No one talks about Faxina Falade, but Faxina Falade is without question a pillar of the practice of Ifa, the West African Ifa, here in the United States. And so by virtue of trying to help Beto find a temple where he could go and get a reading and make Ebo, I found Faxina Falade, who was in Leimert Park in LA at that point. And so I went there and I brought Beto there, but after I brought him there, it was what I was looking for too, right? I just didn't know that was how things were organized. So I ended up going back to Ijo Rumila, is what it was called. And I remember being in Ijo Rumila one day, and they were having a study group. And in the study group, there were, you know, the people who were more seasoned teachers who were members of the temple, and there were people who were just like myself who were coming there for lessons. And there was a gentleman there, and he was saying how he, you know, things would happen and he kind of go into a trance, and he was complaining that he was out of control, that the spirits were taking him this way and the spirits were taking him that way. And I remember that the people who were there, the priests who were there, listened to him for a little while, and then very emphatically, boom, he said, no, that's not the way it goes. That's not the way you do it. You do not just go in there and let the spirits pull you this way and pull you that way, right? You are an Ifa devotee. You command the spirits. You direct the spirits. You're not there to be getting dragged around like a rag doll. You need to be cognizant of what's going on. Yes, the spirit is guiding. Yes, the spirit is the one that is bringing the command, but you are the person who's got to have your eyes open and your hands firmly on the wheel to direct this thing. And I was really struck by that. I was really struck, right? And I never forgot that moment for a variety of reasons. But for me, what I realized is that in retrospect, what they were coming from was the place that Ori is supreme. Ori is supreme. You cannot yield and externalize your power and then blame the spirits for everything that goes wrong and credit the spirits right when everything goes right. Because as someone was saying, I think anecdotally offline before one of the classes, you know, when things go wrong, people will blame the spirits, but then when things go right, they take credit for it. It was something like that, to that effect. But we have to be, of course, acknowledging the spirits for all of the great things that they bring into our lives. But we have to be fully accountable within ourselves for all of the decisions that we make leading up to making contact with the spirit, in the process of being in contact with the spirit, and after the fact. And Ori veneration is crucial for you exercising that level of both awareness and practical skill at managing yourself in relationship to the spirit. So this is why I'm very excited about the things that we've been doing so far and the feedback that I've gotten from you in the form of your assignments. And what I'd like to do at this point is open up the floor for folks to share your responses. I sent you some questions around, you know, how you came into this particular certification and what we did, and you know what your takeaways were. And so I want to invite you to share your experience in the class so far, and just give us some feedback on your 5 questions. You can just read them if you like, or you know, go through them one by one. So anyone who wants to volunteer to share your experience, please take advantage of this this opportunity to do so, and we'll go forward. As a matter of fact, let me start, and then we'll go in from there. Let me start with Dave. David, I got yours just now, and I read it was nice and succinct. Would you share with us your experience with the Ori certification? How did you come into this? And
yeah, sure. Lafia, everyone. Thank you, Baba.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so actually, you know, so to everyone, I'm an initiate of Ifa, and we can talk about backstories at a different time with everyone here. I had the opportunity of receiving Ori, which was my first introduction into the practice, if you will. However, there was little teaching that went along with that. But the good thing is that I'm also self-guided and in my own research, and collaborating, and learning with others, I learned to incorporate. So when I saw this opportunity to
I think it froze. Yeah.
Hello?
Okay, now you're back.
Hello?
It froze it when
Hello?
you said, can you
Okay,
hear
yeah.
me now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry. So, when I saw the opportunity to participate in these online classes via Patreon, the main reason I think is obviously is my Ori drove me here. So in wanting to take this class, I wanted to get a deeper understanding of how to propitiate to Ori in a manner that is really practical, without having to focus on other initiations or receiving icons. And I think that for many of us, especially myself, when we are either in a place of need or eager to become our best selves, um, is easy to get misguided. And I think to your point, being self-accountable is having to determine and differentiate uh, how much of your interest in learning is based on fascination and mysticism and wanting to have knowledge. And I think that when we get to that juncture, it's to make a determination where we want to go. So I'm going to get somewhere. This is why I'm in this class, is because I realized that, and I know that Ori is supreme. But how to remain consistent when feeling in a funk, and how to remember that we have the internal power to allow things to manifest. So that's why I participated in the workshop. I most certainly learned new things, things that I have not learned in the past. And that was really great to, to learn. I'm using the earphone and putting it on the ear, which I have a question, but I'm going to follow up. What is the purpose? And I'm trying to get to that on my own before I really officially ask you that question. So this is why I'm here, and I'm happy to be a part of the group, and to share with other people. So I've heard this before, Ori before Orisha, right? Ori before Orisha, and I know that you also are very clear in saying, you've advertised it on Facebook, also in these private groups, the importance of propitiating to Ori before getting initiated. And I don't like to say unfortunately, because my journey is my journey, but it's sort of like I'm initiated, but I'm now coming into the back door and trying to do like reverse learning. So it's like a double whammy, having to unlearn everything that I learned based on everything that was taught to me by my parents and society, and then coming into a practice, getting initiated, and then having to learn the right way. So I'm here, and I'm hoping that if I can, my experience can inspire someone, or help someone to realize that other people may offer you initiations at cheap prices, and it may seem very advantageous. Yeah, Ori, we already have what we need. Thank you.
I say, yeah, that's like a classic story. That your story there that's 100 people's story. That journey and that trajectory characterizes a lot of people's experience, and I appreciate it, because we want to address that for people. How to prioritize and put things in place. Where it's not that one thing is right or one thing is wrong, but there are certain advantages and disadvantages to approaching it one way or the other. And I find like in the long run, the more agency you have within yourself, the more clear you are about your own power in this, the more, the more powerful the Orisha become, the more powerful Ifa becomes, according to your ability to really tap into your own personal power and your sense of agency. So does anybody else want to volunteer your response to those 5 questions?
Alafia.
Tumia.
I'm sorry. Where were these 5 questions?
These questions were sent to you in your inbox.
On Patreon?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I have to go look those up. Thank you. I'll have to look them up after class.
Okay.
But since I would like to share my experience though with how I came to the class.
Oh, that would be magnificent.
Well, I first was, I guess, introduced to the culture through a dance class, and just when I learned about it, I just was so captivated. And then like the songs that I learned, I just kept singing them and singing them over and over again. And then I just started to, because I know you spoke about yesterday about how like there's part of the religion is, you know, the ecstatic part of it. So it was like, that was what I was being exposed to. And I just loved it. And I just ate it up and I couldn't get enough of it. And so I started then kind of making friends with people who had Afro-Cuban bands and singing all the music and just doing that for many years. And then that was when I was like probably like 18 years old.
Okay.
And then when I was like, I think I got my first reading. I got my first reading when I was pregnant with my oldest daughter when I was like 26. And that was also, I mean, I guess like it was a good experience. Then at the time I was in California, and I ended up having to move back to where I was from in Texas because of complications in my pregnancy. But I still kept the Baba who gave me the reading, I still kept in touch with him the entire time that I was in Texas. And, you know, I just had basically a friendship with him, and he would do readings for me when I wanted them. And, you know, just throughout our talks, he would casually teach me different principles of Ifa. But I also wanted to share this story because I know that it's something that's very common for women. And I ended up falling out with the Babalao because he had romantic interest in me, and I didn't have the same for him. So eventually he just ghosted me and wouldn't talk to me at all anymore. And so I felt such a deep sadness because that was my friend who at this point, like, I had been keeping in touch with him long distance and occasionally visiting him for like 8 years. And then there was also like in the area where I'm from, there are people who practice Ifa, but I mean, I don't want to talk bad on anyone, but you could tell that a lot of it is just improvising and just kind of making stuff up. Right. And so that's actually something I know. One of the times that I was visiting the Bay Area, I actually had a reading from you, which was like around like 8 years ago. And I remember one of the things you said to me then, and what I'm learning more and more and more, that in this practice, improvising is not recommended at all. Like everything is an exact science. Right. And you can't make anything up. Everything has to be to the T, meticulous. So the people who were around in this area, I couldn't get down with what they were professing was Ifa and their different practices, even though, you know, I still go into some of their celebrations and things to have the sense of fellowship of just other people who love the Orisha and everything. So I was then I finally, you know, came to the realization, well, why don't I just take this online class? Because I already have been acquainted with you, and I already had a sense of trust for you. And so then I started, you know, becoming a patron. And then I accidentally checked my email and found that this class was happening. And I'm so glad that I'm here. So
nice. And if you were to say one thing that, like, one thing that you've taken away from it that makes you glad, what would you say is that the one thing that's like, this is the value for me?
It just makes everything make sense. Like, you know, I kind of been praying literally by myself, just ever since you know, I found out about I was working with my teacher. He would give me little prayers to say and stuff. So ever since then, like, I wake up every single morning and I pray before I touch any technology or anything. So I'm sitting here praying every day for decades and just feeling like, man, there's something else here. Like, and things that I'm saying, like, something doesn't make sense. And, it didn't satisfy, like I had a real, like I'm a very analytical person. And so just in my mind, I guess it was my Ori, like my head would almost be hurting sometimes because I just felt like there's something
Right.
here and
Something's missing.
It was like a burn, like seared, like a sensation of burning sometimes when I would pray, of like yearning to want to go deeper and to understand more what I was saying, more what I was doing. And I just didn't feel satisfied. So like going to watching the Tuesday night classes and doing all of this, like has literally cooled the burning sensation that I had in my head to know more and to want to understand.
Ashe.
Ashe.
Ashe. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that insight. That's like very meaningful, because what to me it says is that you're sincere about your pursuit, and you're using what you have to follow up, but because of access, there's limitations to what you can actually, put your hands on. But because of the sincerity of your pursuit and your determination, you work through those limitations to find something that kind of, put things into perspective and connected the dots for you. You say, okay, now that's a complete picture. Now I can see where this all goes together. I can relax into this.
Yes. Because I know, because I feel like, I've been exposed to the culture for a long time, but yet, I don't have a hand to be fought. I don't have any of these things. Even though one time I even paid someone, I paid a teacher, a Babalao in Nigeria, for a hand to be fought, and he took my money and didn't send it to me. I got one for me and my son, and he didn't send it to me. So then that was kind of just like, like for so long, I just felt like, why am I getting my butt whipped? Like, why?
Right.
I'm trying so hard, but I'm just getting punished. And so I didn't know why. And I kind of talked to like my EFA community here, and like, we'll just get somebody to do that for you. But it didn't feel right with me. So I'm like, no, it didn't feel good in my heart. So I'm like, no, I'm not going to go with that. And like here, there's like and people will be so almost like judgmental me, saying, well, we have all these alekes. Where's your alekes? And where's your this and where's your that? But that's one thing that, like, I'm very grateful for my first teacher, the one, whatever, who got rid of me because I would marry him. But one thing that he taught me, though, was that he said, you are your greatest Orisha. Alekes don't mean anything unless, you mean something. Like,
I say.
So, I'm glad that he imparted that knowledge to me. Like, don't get obsessed with Alekes and with this and with that, because you are your own greatest Orisha. So, so when they were coming at me with that kind of vibe, I was always just like, all right, I'm not going for it, because I knew better.
Ashe. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
We got a couple of hands up here. Let's see, Pamela and then Michelle.
Lafia, thank you, Baba. So I answered the questions briefly, and we'll give a little bit more story. I basically put all my eggs in a rotten basket, and was, highly directed to do this, felt really like directed by spirit. I lived in a residential Ifa-based community that was run by a very brilliant, spiritually gifted initiate, but someone who always refused supervision. She always outgrew her teachers. And there was always a little thing here like, okay, this isn't good. Like, this isn't good. But I didn't listen to that. And I trust that my Ori led me on this crazy circuitous path for learning. And I also working with my own accountability and choices that I made that hurt a lot of other people, including family and longtime friends. It's been about a year since I left this community that I was part of for probably about 7 years and lived in and put my life savings into for 2 years. So when I left a year ago, I left without anything except some grace and the knowledge that it was time to go. Was received by friends and family and have been so blessed in this year of recovery. Just countless blessings.
Sure.
Ashe. And so I was initiated as a diviner without any training. My only training was to learn the odus and to work with the verses a little bit. I was always terrified, and my teacher always said, "Oh, this is your own lack of confidence. This is your own failure." And she, it was hard. So when I came out of this experience, number one, I decided to leave, and she experienced my choice as a betrayal, and she kept all of my tools and destroyed them. And yeah, and she's done that with a number of people, and I watched her do that with other people. So I knew when I left that she would do that. And she purposefully and very cleverly kept her students from any community with others. And I always felt like, wow, I got initiated as a diviner. This is a really important honor and gift, but I need training. I need training. I don't have any idea what I'm doing. And number one, I'm white. Number two, I'm in my 50s. And, traditionally, children grow up here and, learning this stuff for their whole lives, many years before they're initiated. So I always felt like, okay, this is wrong. And I also, I had a very profound connection with my guardian Orisha. That was just a transforming experience in my life before I was initiated. And that's, my Orisha is Yemoja. And I had been very disconnected from my stepdaughter. And she came back into my life pregnant and needing attention. And
Wow.
I spent a few years really growing this relationship. And the birth of my first grandson just cracked my heart open. And I had prayed really hard and long to Yemoja for reconnection. And she brought me these incredible gifts. So I knew I had a connection to the tradition. Unfortunately, my stepdaughter also came out of a place of domestic violence into this residential program. And she had a disagreement with the teacher before I did and left. And we are estranged now. And yeah, so there's been a lot of incredible life lessons and gifts and a lot of loss. So a lot to work with. Anyway, when I came out, literally for the first 2 weeks, every day I woke up, I was ecstatic for about a minute because it was like, hey, the Orishas didn't kill me. Because my teacher had really, had so created a tyranny of my mind, and I had so given over my power to her that, and I was choosing it. It wasn't like I didn't have agency. I just I was raised Catholic, and have this great background for receiving hard lessons in life as punishment that I did something wrong. It's a lot to undo that. And anyway, I was ecstatic every moment that I didn't get killed by the Orishas. And after about 2 weeks, it was like, okay, there's a connection here that's real. I need to pursue it. But I was terrified to do anything. And the first contacts I made were with some Nigerian babalaos, and you know, one of them offered to do a reading for me, and without any information, he got all the stuff about my stepdaughter and the estrangement. Like, he just read it, and so it was like, okay, this is real, this is real. But who is supposed to be my teacher? And so, you know, so, and I felt this imperative that I really needed to do it now. And I also felt this, you know, very strong undercurrent of like, okay, you already did it really fast and it was wrong. You have to find a way to do it slowly. And Ori led me to you on YouTube. And I have spent months and months of checking in with your videos, and they have so, like, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Cannot thank you enough, because everything that you say in your early, you know, in your introductory things that are on YouTube are like, you have to start from the beginning. You have to have training. Everyone needs supervision. And the first thing I watched of yours was the video where you say, everyone is a beginner who hasn't been doing this for a long time. Even I'm a beginner. I'm an advanced beginner, but I'm a beginner.
That's right.
And yeah, and it was just like, oh, I have found someone who is speaking the truth. Thank you. And
Thank you.
yeah, so so I really feel like Ori led me here, and I've also been working with another local community. I live outside of Baltimore, Maryland, and there's a community here. I've connected with some people on Facebook, and I've connected with a Baba of some people here who lives in Miami and Puerto Rico, and he did a really fabulous reading for me in which the primary Odu was Ori. So it's just like, okay, I know. It's like, I am meant to do this somehow. And this class has just so clicked for me, because I always wanted to learn about Ori, and my teacher, my former teacher, didn't really know anything about Ori. So she couldn't teach me. And she, you know, I was always like fishing, because it, you know, like everything in, you know, if you study the verses and study the Odus, even just a little bit, it's like, okay, what is Ori? It's really important and fundamental.
Right.
You know, but it's hard to learn it, you know, I mean, it's impossible to learn it in the context that I was in, because it was a really hostile environment for learning. So I would say that the big take home message here is, it's good to go slowly. It's good to listen. Yeah, so, and I want to just commend you so much on your teaching style. In the first class, when you right away posed questions from students to other students, it's like, oh, I trust you. I trust you. You know what you're doing. You're creating community. You are bringing about the good condition. So thank you so much.
We thank you, Fa.
We thank you, Fa. We thank you, Fa.
Yeah, I really, truly appreciate everything that you said so much. And I'm really impressed by your determination. This tradition is, Ifa says it though, it's in poverty that a boy learns Ifa. that's a proverb and an opening to a verse. You know, it's in poverty that a boy learns Ifa. And when you look at how the young boys in Nigeria learn it, it's a considerable amount of hardship that is associated with learning Ifa. It is not an easy path by any stretch of the imagination, and it's that institution that both makes Ifa revered as a really prestigious discipline. And it also humbles the practitioners to be perpetually reminded and guided by our service to Oromila. And it requires a lot of focus and a lot of determination and a lot of faith but it also requires, that has to be accompanied by quality guidance and direction based on reality. You know, that is a key. I won't necessarily say truth, because truth is, it's relative, right? One angle and another angle, everybody thinks they know the truth. But if we can ascertain what is reality by really assessing all of the angles and being clear about what's on every point, then we're going to be more aware of what the reality is, and we can make real informed decisions. And so I think that is the key for people who want to assure that there's a certain standard, there's a certain quality to our practice, and the prestige of it is maintained. Let's give people a reality check, and that takes time. You can't really assess the fullness of reality in an instant. You can only get a snapshot, which will allow you to make a rash decision. But a reality check, a true assessment of where you are and what's really going on, it takes time, and you've got to be patient. So I really appreciate your patience and your determination. And I pray that your Ori continues to take you on the right path, and that as you journey, you continue to get deeper and deeper enlightenment and a better understanding of who you are and how you're, what you were born to do, who you're, born to serve. That to me is where everything gets put into place, and you find real peace and serenity and that ability to relax and be happy and content with where you are and what you're doing. So I appreciate you sharing that full story with us. I really appreciate it. And I also want to say, lastly, you're doing so with a smile. The spirit with which you share all of those different things is very light and very accepting and cool, which is nice, because it suggests that you won't be harboring bitterness within yourself for things that look like adversity. And that's commendable. I appreciate it. Let's see, we've got a few hands here, so I want to make sure everyone gets in here. Oh, Michelle and Stephanie and Elvita. Michelle, Stephanie, and then Elvita.
Alafa Baba and everybody.
I
wanted to first apologize for my tardiness. I do mentor several young ladies, and there was a crisis. So I do apologize for my tardiness.
No worries.
I wanted to answer the questions, and it sounds like we're maybe giving a little bit of history of how we got here as well. So to answer the questions, I did them very briefly as well. What was I hoping to learn from this experience in the Ori certification? For me, to learn more of the Orishas, and specifically Ori. Why did you decide to participate in the certification? To learn more in a structured environment, opposed to trying to figure things out on Patreon myself.
Right.
When I seen there was a class, I thought, especially being brand new, I tell people I'm not even an infant, I'm an embryo. So having structure and having this environment where there'd be other people that I could, listen to what people are saying, see other perspectives, see you personally, hear you, so that was definitely the reason I decided to participate in the certification more than anything, to get that structure. What did we do together? I answered, we explored why Ori is supreme, right?
Yes.
We kind of did together. And if I had to boil down to a single thing, what am I taking away from the Ori certification experience? The importance to be authentic, to know working on self is of utmost importance, so I can be used as a vessel to bring balance between heaven and earth, is what I kind of got. What's one thing that is special and unique about the instructor? I appreciate you for having us transcribe what we hear phonetically. As an instructor myself, I really like that, because people learn differently. And I'm one of those people that I'm visual, but I have to write it as well. So
okay.
that made it easier for me, even though I didn't know none of the alphabet, the language, but phonetically hearing and trying to hear and write it. When you were saying it back, I was able to actually say some things back. They might not have been written correctly, but as I heard, and so that made me, it made me feel good. Like, I'm retaining, like, I can get this, like, and I say that because I come from the background. My last place that I was on my spiritual path was the Hebrew thing, and I kept for 3 years. We got to learn Hebrew, and I couldn't get. It wasn't coming natural. I didn't have a desire. There was something like I just felt like this wasn't it, and so coming here now and just flowing, I've already learned the alphabet, and I can sing the alphabet with you, and it's just flowing, and that's
Nice.
Know that I'm where I'm supposed to be. And if I can give just a quick background and synopsis of my spiritual journey so that you guys can kind of know, when I was 8 years old, something touched me and told me that I would always need to talk to them. My household's not religious at all. And not at all. So touched me. And at that point, I knew good and evil. But at that point in my life, all types of evil things started to happen. But I could tell, like, my brothers would play this game, Dungeons and Dragons. I would go up to the board and say, hey, these things, and and coming from the Christian background, everything was to me evil. And so now turning around years later and switching off to all those things that they told me was evil that I seen on the inside, does that make sense? The things that I could see things. I could see things. I see things in advance. I feel things. If you get cut, I feel it. There's all these things that nobody could explain, these things, and the things that the African spirituality that I would always be drawn to, everybody around me told me was evil. So I stayed in limbo for a very long time with having these gifts, having these talents, and not understanding, and just looking and trying to find that place. And so I went through the church. I went through every denomination you can imagine. I went through every denomination. I went into the Muslims, the Moors, the Quakers. I mean, I have been searching for what is this that's inside of me that has been leading me toward the community, because that's what I have been doing. And so in 2009, I left corporate America because this has been so strong in me that there's something for me to do. And it's a spiritual thing that I'm supposed to do. And I've been a mentor for 30 years with young ladies. And I've kept saying there's something deeper I'm supposed to learn. There's something deeper I'm supposed to learn. And in 2009, I left corporate America and said, I'm going to take this journey no matter what it takes. I have to figure it out. And I have been walking by faith since then, with the calling of building this thing for these young ladies in the community. I've opened healing homes for them, houses for them, taking them off the street. I have written curriculum in the last 10 years because I've been on the street level with them, because I have been stripped of everything. I have sat in isolation. I have written in isolation for 10 years. I have written, now I have book instruction manuals, all these things, and ready to open a wellness home. Right now, I'm looking to do that. I have a complete nonprofit organization. All this is because it's been inside of me, something leading me. And but the spiritual thing that's leading me, I'm searching. So I'm going to these communities looking for this connection, and I'm not finding it. And then finally, when I did my DNA in November and I found Europe, that's all I can say. That was like, that's brought me here, and everything makes sense now. And I'm just here to learn because everything makes sense. I feel like I finally have got to the place where I'm supposed to get. And now what I do in the community can come together fully. And when I open this house, this next house, that I know I have a long way to learn, but I'll just be at a better place to serve. I don't know. I just, so, and the last thing I want to say, the first day when we had to talk to Ori, and I realized that Ori is the head, and it's already been inside of me. I realized that that was who spoke to me when I was 8 years old and gave me my assignment and told me I was supposed to be in the community. And it all makes sense now. And now I'm here to learn because I've been doing it, but I've been doing it alone. And I'm ready now to have the help of my ancestors. And one other thing, I've always been drawn to the elders. And I just moved down south. For 3 years, I moved down south. And when I was down south, I could hear, when I was by the trees, I could hear them talking to me. When I go into the water, I could hear them talking to me. And so I've been sitting, I've been grounding for 6 months before I came to here, this place. I was on a 5-acre lake and land that he brought me to a place called Hezbollah. And these people took care of me because I haven't been working. I've just been walking on where he's been leading me for all these journeys. And he's just been taking care of me till he brought me here, you know. And I've been on this land and I've just been grounding and just been talking to the ancestors and asking them, please help me, please help me, please help me, please help me. Please show me, please show me. Like, I know I'm here, like there's nothing left. I have nothing left. You have to now show me so that I can complete the assignment. And then they showed me you. So that's how I'm here.
Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. Ori will never, ever depart from you. Ori will never, ever leave you. Ori will never abandon you. Ori is the one that is the stalwart. That's the one who will stand behind you, will stand in front of you, will stand to your right. Ori will reposition itself any way necessary to continue to compel you and propel you forward. And so you're never alone. You're never, ever alone. Sometimes we get to a point where we feel like we're alone. We feel like everything is lost and we're just in the void. But it's in that moment that we have to refer back to Ori. We're wise to refer back to Ori and seek Ori's guidance and be more and more explicit with Ori about what we're struggling with, what's missing for us, what we need, what we, you know, where we want to go. And then be open and receptive to what Ori gives us and follow through. And so I want to commend you for being receptive to what Ori has for you and accepting the charge. It's magnificent that you are already so clear about who you serve, and you've already gotten the fulfillment and the gratification of showing up in the lives of the people who you're destined to serve. So you know that you have purpose. You know that what you're doing is valuable and that other people are being blessed by your willingness to show up and to serve. And that's a meaningful life. And I think when we look at how Ori had, you know, created the divinities in different places and endowed them with different abilities. And you know, that's what it's about, because we look and we have so much reverence for the Orisha because they show up and they create value for us. They help us solve problems. They help us go forward. And likewise, we show up in other people's lives with that same kind of an impact. It may not be millions of people for millions of years, but it could be 5 people whose lives we touch for 10 years. That's what we're meant to do. Great. It's supremely necessary to help someone find a bridge from point A to point B. So I'm thankful that you're here, a part of our community and our learning experience. And I am certain that your Ori will continue to elevate you and continue to add strength and clarity and happiness to your dedication and your service. Hashem. Let's see, this is a really powerful group of people. I'm moved and honored to have your gravity. There's a lot of gravity here. Stephanie and then Elvita.
Alafia, everyone.
Adupe.
Yeah, so I guess I'll talk about my journey as a sort of roundabout way of answering the questions. but I grew up in a pretty religious West Indian household, and I imagine religious West Indian households are similar to, you know, Black American West religious households, in the sense that there's this idea that, you know, a lot of like free thinking, or a lot, just basically anything comes from the devil that's not like from the Bible.
Pretty
And
much.
yeah, and I noticed that a lot of the times, like my mother used to always say, like, the devil's speaking through you, the devil's speaking through you. And it was always when like I had like a question. It wasn't even like when I was like disrespectful. It was like any type of interaction where I was even respectfully sort of like referring to my internal power, like referring to my intuition or anything like that. It was like, that is the devil. That is the devil speaking through you. And I was like, thinking that it didn't sound right. It didn't feel right. It didn't feel like the devil. And, you know, they were always saying the devil's this trickster, and, you know, you'll never know. And it just, none of that really resonated with me growing up. And as, you know, as I got into college, you know, I figured like, oh, I don't believe any of that stuff. So I thought I was just like an atheist, you know. But I also had, at the same time as I was like sort of accepting this like atheism that I also had this sort of this knowledge of these experiences I had as a child, like experiences like, you know, as I was falling asleep, like there would be sort of this figure there, and oftentimes I could feel their hands, or like I could, and they were a very comforting figure. And like now I think that that was an ancestor. And so, you know, like kind of trying to reconcile these feelings of like, I've had these experiences, but also like, I don't believe in that like sort of Abrahamic God, you know, and I didn't really know what was in between, you know, like I knew there was like witchcraft, and it was like, you know, I saw all the pagan like white stuff, and I was like, I don't want anything to do with that, you know. And so I started looking into so in Jamaica, witchcraft is called obia. And
Right.
so you know, I was like, what is this obia thing they're always like talking bad about? I was like, I don't believe in what they believe. And there's some there was some facets of the things that they believed in that I actually did believe, you know, like so my mom was fundamental sort of Pentecostal, sort of the Jamaican version of Pentecostal. They would speak in tongues. They would do all these things that are clearly rooted in African.
Right.
I go to church and I was like, see, you know, this wasn't bad, but I just don't believe what they're saying. Like what they're doing resonates with me. What they're saying, I don't like that. That doesn't resonate.
Right.
So I was trying to figure out, like, you know, for a long time, I'm a very like research-based sort of heady person. And so I'm always like doing research and trying to find out things. And so I looked into obia, and I found out that the name comes from Obi, you know? And so I started to learn about just like divination. And I've always had these questions about destiny and free will and that sort of thing. I actually have my master's degree in philosophy with a concentration on free will. And I realized the thing that I wrote my paper on, you know, in terms of soft determinism, was actually very similar to West African cosmology. This idea that like things are determined, but, you know, we basically like you know, the Ori is picked, or we pick the Ori, and then the Ori determines things. But there is a choice that's there. So it's determinism, but it's a soft determinism. And I literally wrote this whole paper about soft determinism before I even knew anything about African spirituality. So I had this like sort of intuition.
Oh, okay. Nice.
And so, you know, just coming on this journey of like, all right, you know, African spirituality is resonating with me. You know, I want to do more research on it. And yeah, so it's funny because, you know, I've been following you for a minute, and I've been wanting to sort of learn more, but I always had like a million jobs. It's another thing, like Jamaicans always have like 10 jobs. I always had like literally 4 or 5 jobs. And so when I saw that you're doing the Trinidad trip, I was like, okay, you know what? I can take off from all my jobs. I can do that trip. And then catalyst for me to start studying more and whatever. And of course, you know, Trinidad came first. Yeah. So I guess, you know, Spirit, or it was maybe my own Ori, or somebody was saying, you need to study first before you go to Trinidad. So since that's happened, and I ended up leaving a few of my jobs, and you know, and a few of them kind of petered out with all that's going on. And so I was like, well, I actually finally have the time to really do this work. I made a few friends a few years ago. I live in Portland, Oregon, so there's not a ton of Black people here. So, you know, I found these friends here. They're amazing. And they have this gallery. It's called Ori Gallery. And I was like, huh. And I Google like what Ori is. And I'm like, and they also, so they always had these like some makeup like dots like on their head or like over here. They always had, you know, this interesting look. And, you know, I started asking them questions about it, and it was clear that they had some understanding, but like they weren't like deep in it, you know, they weren't like, they hadn't been studying for a long time. Like they had a general sense of what Ori was, but they didn't really know that much. And, you know, I've been friends with these folks for years, and during this time, I've always had this like thing in the back of my head, like, so what exactly, like, I understand what Ori is, but like, what is it really? Like, what is it, like, just what, yeah, like knowing the different parts of it, you know, and all that stuff. I didn't really know any of that. So, you know, when I saw the certification came up, I was like, oh, this is perfect. Now I can finally know, you know, I can really, really have a true understanding of what Ori is. And maybe I can even teach these people who like named their gallery after Ori, because when people asked, you know, people asked, and I was one of those people, and they're like, oh, Ori, like, can you explain it? And they're like, oh yeah, it's like your internal power, but it's much more than that, you know?
Yes.
And so, you know, I want to, and I'm a volunteer at that gallery too. So, you know, I was like, you know, I could actually learn this stuff. And then when people ask, like, have a real answer for them. That's like really insightful, and that really causes them to look into themselves, and maybe causes them to want to do that work. So that's kind of why I'm here, is like, and yeah, it's also, you know, the thing that I'm taking from this is like a way to really explain all the different aspects of Ori, to get a better understanding of myself, and to also pass along to other, specifically Black folks, you know, in my community, that are just starting that journey, or have been in that journey but haven't really gone that far. I feel like, you know, because a lot of traditions are so hidden from us, and there's such stigma about things, it's really easy to be in like, you know, the very, very, very beginner stage for like literally years, you know, if you're just like relying off of like Google searches, and, you know, so, you know, I want to be able to like help people take their learning to the next level, because even just like doing this class for the week, just having like literally having Googleable terms, like things that I didn't know what certain things were. So like, you know, when I was, I'm still actually working on the homework from the first day, because I fell down this Google hole where I was Googling every single one of the different facets, and like seeing what different, you know, Babas are saying, and just like discussion that's happening. And there's so much richness there that I had like no idea, you know? And so, yeah, that's really what I'm getting out of it, is just getting this rich understanding, something that I can pass along to other people that helps them do their own like internal work. And yeah, just having more daily spiritual practices and weekly spiritual practices is really important to me. And right now, yeah, I'm honoring my ancestors, but I want to do more. And I know that I'm not necessarily ready to start like venerating like Orisha yet. So this is perfect, because, you know, venerate Ori, and then I'll progress further in my learning. But that's it.
Magnificent. Thank you so much. Like, I very much appreciate the fullness of the journey. You know, going from being, you know, a child and having an experience that doesn't match up with, like, you know, you're saying people, they're doing one thing, but they're saying something different, and what they're saying and what they're doing doesn't quite, and you find that, I find that frequently, that people are, we know something on the inside, and we're feeling something on the inside, but every time we try to go to express it, or every time we try to go and get some kind of a context for it, the feedback is like, no, you're not describing what I'm feeling at all. You're not describing what I'm saying at all. And then when finally you get that match, it's like, ah!
Yeah.
And that's what I was, as you were talking, that's what I just kept having that experience, memories, so many memories of my own experience. It's like, yep, I know what that's like. I know what that's like. I know what that's like. And that is why I have completely fallen in love with Trinidad.
Mm.
It's like so much synchronicity. Everything makes sense. When I move through one phase or another of what's going on in Trinidad, it's like, yes, finally, I get it. This is what I've been seeing. There's a spectrum of spirituality that is very wonderfully expressed in Trinidad. And I'm really hopeful that we'll all get a chance to go there together and experience it, and just, everyone has a different experience with it, but so far it has been really consistent that Trinidad is a special kind of a place that puts things together really nicely. So we'll make it. It's just a matter of time.
One day.
One day. Hopefully, we've got to reschedule for Emancipation, which is in the fall, and so if the ancestors will permit, we will all be able to reconvene in Trinidad for that great experience, and then it'll continue after that. So thank you so much. I really truly appreciate it, and I look forward to hearing how it goes for you in the gallery as well. I think it's very encouraging to be able to elevate our basic understanding of things like Ori and share that with people, right? And give them some real deeper insight into the fullness of our spiritual tradition and our philosophical orientation, so that people can understand that, for example, voodoo is a legitimate spiritual and esoteric science, and being able to pull our, obia, right, hoodoo, being able to pull those things out of these quick, stereotypical dismissals. Oh, that's just voodoo. No, you don't have the slightest idea of what voodoo is. Oh, that's just voodoo. You don't even. Hold on a second. Let me back up and let me give you some perspective on what voodoo is, on what hoodoo is, on what obia is, and that's our charge. I think in this generation is really filling in the dots, so that more and more of our people can share that experience of like, yes, I've been carrying something inside of me, and I knew there was more to it than what people were saying. And now you've given me the terminology, you've given me the vocabulary, you've given me the point of departure to start to search and complete the story for myself. So I wish you the very best, and I look forward to hearing how it goes, because I'm sure you are going to carry that to the fullest. Elbita, and then Talana.
Baba.
Boya,
Good day or good morning, wherever you're at. We've spoken about Ori a lot. Hello?
Yes, I can hear you. I can't see you though.
Do you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, we've spoken about Ori a lot in the past. I understand I understood the philosophical aspects of Ori and what Ori was and all of that part. It was the part that was stumping me is the veneration aspect, and that's what I really wanted to learn. You get stumped, you can pray to your Ori and you can say what you want, but language is important, and that was what was missing for me. And it always just felt like, am I doing it right? Because I don't really have the language down pat. So it never felt complete.
Yes.
So so this morning when I woke up singing, you know, I tried my best to retain it. I didn't think I was retaining it, and then you wake up and then the song is in your mind. So
Shit.
those are the things that make it that I wanted to get from this experience, the ability to just sit down, and then when I'm venerating, like I venerate to Eshu or Ifa or, you know, ancestors, you have that language and it just goes 1, 2, 3, and it
Yes.
flows. So now with Ori, it will flow as well. That was I was trying to get away from it. But I came to that journey because certain experiences in life does create a lot of issues with the head, and my Odu and everything always speaks about my head being clear, being, you know, cleansed, and all of that in order for me to be able to function. And so I got into a job situation that basically created more obstacles for me than what needed to be. And so when you told the story of Ofunidete, of how when, everybody fought Ori and then he won, that's what really was happening with me. Like, I fight my Ori all the time. And that's the reason why, like, I'm not living out my natural gifts and talents, and how professionally or personally sometimes, like, you get into that unhappy stage because, you know, I'm not living out what I know I should be doing. And so it creates a lot of confusion. And you know what, I know what I want to do. I know, like, how I want to do it, but then I put myself in positions where I'm doing something totally opposite, which benefits somebody else.
Right.
Okay, and so this job, when you did that post about what has been quarantined, what is being in the quarantine has taught you about yourself, and it was like, I cannot, which was what Maita said, I cannot work for other people and create all of this wealth for you and opportunities for you and ideas for you, and then it takes more out of me. I'm giving so much energy to an institution, and that institution is not giving me anything back or helping me to attain the goals that I want to attain in life. So I'm giving you the best of me, and I'm not getting anything back,
Right.
except for contention and fight. And I'm like, I'm fighting for people's rights, you know, people that are sick, people that need certain type of care, people that need service and all of that. And from the very beginning, I get contention, I get obstacles, I get blocked. And so when that happens, my first mode is warrior mode, and I'm gonna fight you. We're gonna fight. So you're creating this, okay, I'm gonna do this, and we're gonna knock this down. Yeah, that you win after a while. You do win, but the glory isn't all that great because you still have so much energy to fight, and it's like, is this even worth it? It's not even worth it. So when I was young, I was always told that you never let anybody kick you out or make you feel like it's time for you to go. You should already feel and know where you belong. And I didn't belong. I didn't belong there. From day when I didn't belong there, I tried to not be me. I fought Ori. This is not where you belong. You can do better. This is not where you're gonna be. I was like, no, but the paycheck is good, and right now I need this because I need to do this, that. And I ended up being somewhere and being very unhappy, and in an institute trying to help other people, but for myself, it was not making me happy. And you break down, and when your head is not functioning the way it's supposed to function, it does affect the physical body.
Yes.
So I just like, I can't do this, and I really can't do this. So I quit, and I'm not mad. I'm not worried. I'm not, you know, saddened by that. And so everything just seemed to have flowed and won. And when I started taking this class of how overwhelmed and stressed I was, because during this whole quarantine situation, every day somebody was dying. So when you're getting the news of this person died, this patient died, this patient it affects you in such a way you don't realize it because you're in the eye of the storm.
Right.
When you have your downtime, and then your mind settles, and you're like, oh God, Oh God, like I really can't. Like this morning again, I'm called personally because a lot of these people have personal relationships with me. They don't go via the route of calling the institution and all of that. They call me personally to tell me this person just died. And I remember I had to fight for this lady to get services, and then it was just a whole big thing. So this morning when this lady calls me and says this patient of mine died, it was like, oh God, here we go again. And I'm glad I'm leaving. I can't keep taking that. This is not where I'm supposed to be. I need to be somewhere where there's life, where I am making a difference, but there's life. There's just too much death going on around me. There's just too much of this dreariness going around me. And so my last conversation last night with one of the most belligerent clients I've ever had. You know, when you have to speak to someone and you have to take a deep breath, I have to take 3 deep breaths before I speak with her because she's very defensive. She doesn't let nobody speak. And I think it's because of what she's been through. So she feels that she has to defend herself all the time. So I'm the only one that can actually get to her and speak with her for her to listen. But it's always a tug of war. And for the first time last night, it wasn't a tug of war. I just came to her because I'm taking this class and being in the mode set of, I want to clear my Ori. I want to calm my Ori. That whole mindset has changed my personality, even for the opposition I face at work, with coworkers, and also with this particular client. So when I went to her and I had to explain to her something, I didn't go, oh, I'm going to Miss Dolphy, we gonna fight. We gonna get it, it's gonna be a problem. I just went and I said, Miss Dolphy, I'm so very sorry. I started off differently from how we usually start off. And we were just went into a conversation. This lady got all spiritual. I never knew this lady had that type of spirituality in her. And I'm sitting there like, who the hell? What is this lady talking about? Like, wait a minute, hold up. I was expecting to fight. She was like, that's when you got, I don't know, she's Muslim. So she said something, I don't remember the word. I said, you know, I'm sorry this is happening to you. It's not my fault. I tried my best to do this, but you know, when powers that be don't want to help you, you know, and don't want to, you know, fix the situation, is what happened. She said, well, that's called something, inshallah, something. And that's when you take your Florida water and you do this. I'm like, what? And you clear your head out and you this. So I'm like, let me just listen to this lady. And then that reminded me what you said that day in that class when you was like, give your ancestors the best, which I do, the best, no cheap stuff. Then she said this, she said, not that BS Florida water, neither, the real deal Florida water. I was like, excuse me. So she came and I figured she was a very spiritual lady. And me and this lady who always had to get like into a tug of war, we ended it. And I told her, I'm leaving. This is our last conversation. I'm leaving. And she was like, see, the change is happening. When she asked me, who am I speaking with? I said, this is Elvira, Miss Dolphy. She was like, what? Elvira? Just like, you sound so different. Usually when I'm talking to you, we're always on high. You're so calm. See, the change is happening. The change is happening. I'm like, it must be because the way I went with her, the way I'm dealing with the coworkers that usually piss me off, is even very different. It's just a very calming, like you're doing the right thing. Don't fear money. Don't fear, you know, did I do this? Or don't second guess what you're doing to go back into a position where you're not going to be happy. Because it blocked me from doing a lot of things. It blocked me from finishing this book. It blocked me from properly being maternal. And when you block me from being maternal, I really have a problem with that because I don't like not being able to see my child on a certain regular basis. I just don't like that. And I'm taking care of other people's needs. I'm making sure this person has money. And at the end of the day, you're not respecting me. And I'm fighting to be respected and helping other people to get respect that they should be getting. And so this is not where I belong. And the work that I want to do and have to do cannot be done because I'm the rebellious one. I'll always be pointing at the rebellious one. You're not following the rules. You're not doing this, but your rules doesn't make sense in patient care and patient management. You're not really, you're there supposedly to be helping them and servicing them, and that's not what you're doing. You're not giving them the proper service. So when you have to advocate for people in an arena where they're supposed to be doing the right thing by these people, it creates frustration for me. And so I cannot be in a situation being told what to do that is unethical. I'm not gonna lie to save anybody's behind and job so that you don't get a lawsuit. I just can't do it. And if you're asking me to be unethical, then I have to remove myself.
Well,
Because I'm
you
not
know
here
what?
to serve you. I'm here to serve the people that I'm there to work for. I'm not serving you.
And that's the key. I think where you get super duper clear about really, you know, how who you serve, it puts everything in the proper perspective, and you realize where your energy is going to be well used and where it's going to be squandered. And going into, you know, the choosing and decision making is Ori's superpower. And once you really know what that power is, you can be calm and you can be clear and you can be totally in your position, knowing that this is the sequence of decisions that I have to make to get to where I really need to be.
I should. And the
And
fearlessness.
totally, you know, the fear is natural. We're never gonna, you know, purge fear from our experience, but being able to still make decisions based on our destiny is what allows to put the fear in proper perspective. As you were sharing that, you know, the Odu that we're operating under right now from our Itadogun is Iretio Konra, which tells us, one verse tells us that hunger will cause someone to be angry. If you're angry, it can cause you to miss your road. Hunger causes one to be angry. If you're angry, it can cause you to miss your road. This was the Ifa that was cast for the man who was told to sacrifice so that he could be a husband to his wife. This was the Ifa that was cast for the man so that he could be a father to his children. This was the Ifa that was cast for the educated person so that they could sacrifice so that their talent wouldn't be used to enrich somebody else. And in so much of what you were describing, particularly where it pertains to you using your talent to enrich someone else, it's not just that your Ori is making someone else rich, but it's also that you're fighting against your Ori. Your destiny is to go east and you're going west. You're swimming upstream every minute of every day, and that creates anxiety and frustration and anger and resentment and just tension in your whole experience. So it's like, I don't need to keep fighting reality. Let me go with what I'm supposed to be doing and be where I'm supposed to, you know, be, and enjoy everything that goes along with it and work with everything that has to be done there.
Yeah, and the calmness sets forth on me, because usually, like, being responsible is what I have to be. I have to be responsible. I have this, I have that. And I don't like fear. Whenever fear does come, I try my best to, you know, overcome it. And so, but it was a natural onsetting of, you'll be all right. You all right. You worked enough. You have enough money. You have this time period. You're going to be okay. But if you don't leave there, you will not find the blessing that's ahead, because you're just in a position where it's not, don't stay because of financial obligations. You're okay for now, but you're going to be okay. I don't feel as anxious, like you said, when you said anxiety, I don't suffer from anxiety, but this job gave me so much anxiety and so much nerve issue. It just was affecting my health. And I'm not going to be one of these people that just work in the position, you know, go along with it, have all types of illnesses. It's just a classic stereotype. That's not me. That's just not me. That's not what I'm supposed to do. And that's not what I want to show my child he's supposed to do. You're supposed to, you have to stand for something. You just can't just be like a robot and just go along with it just for a paycheck. You have to stand for something. And I speak so much with so many of these patients and so many of these people, and what I've been able to do to help them has been amazing. But at the end result, what it took away from me, And I'm like, why do I have to fight this hard to give people what they deserve, what they're supposed to get?
Right.
And I don't want, there's so much wrong with here. And I have all these ideas that were stolen, taken away, and all of that stuff. And I'm like, why can't I do that? Why can't I? I see what's wrong. I see what can be fixed. I can do that.
Right.
I can do that. And then function it in a more ethical, morally coded, servicing institution. I want to serve people. I don't want to be their slave. I'm not going to be your slave.
Ashe. Ashe. And that is I think in the beginning, we in the first class, yes, definitely in the first class, I make that as a really important premise of venerating Ori and why this certification matters, because it's about freedom. Everything that we're doing has to facilitate spiritual freedom. If it doesn't, then we have to reevaluate, right? We shouldn't be in a practice that that enslaves us, right?
And one last thing, sorry,
okay,
to cut you off. With the thing with Ori that always interested me was the fact that when you look at a lot of spiritual systems, everything you have to do, whether it's initiation, primary initiation, secondary, whatever, your head always has to be calm, and your head is always appeased first. So
right.
it just doesn't make sense to me at times where people overstep Ori and Western tradition, when you know all initiation they do, you have to get keyboarding, you have to clear your head. Everything has to be, your head has to be appeased first.
That's right.
So, that would be like a given that Ori should be part of a practice, of every practice.
Ashe.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Abika.
Okay, and what I like about the instructor, everything. Okay. Bye.
Ashe. It is an honor to be in your presence.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be taught by you.
Ashe. We're a good company. Talana and then Fashegun.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Abora Aboye.
Yeah, Boshishe.
I wanted to share a little bit about my journey along with answer these questions. So I have no African, I didn't know what Ori was until I actually joined the silver class, and I think that was about in January.
Okay.
And I had none of that background. I knew nothing about it. I had an idea, but I wasn't sure, what everything was. So in this Ori certification, it really just helped me to start trusting what I always experienced. I've been having dreams and visions since I was about 5 years old. So I never really trusted them. Sometimes I would, but sometimes I wouldn't, because when I would come to people with ideas, they would just look at me as if, like, you're weird. So in 2008, I had a dream. Well, I would say it was 2007, I had the dream. And I had a dream that I got shot in the back. I could feel my legs going paralyzed in the dream, like I was there living this dream. And I even knew where I was, but the city that I was in, I wasn't in that part of the state at that time. It was in California, Bay Area, and I was in Southern California. So during this dream, I had seen myself as I was going through recovery. I seen myself walking again. So I said all that to say that in 2008, I did get shot in the back. I did become paralyzed. I still have some paralyzation, but I am able to walk. So when I seen that dream, that kind of confirmed to me that Ori had been guiding me all along, which is what this class really on, honed in for me. It really showed me that that's what has been happening in my life. So that led me, then I went on to get my bachelor's degree in human services. Before that, I was a massage therapist. So I've always been a person that wanted to help people and to help them at the largest extent I could. And I felt at times like I was just giving so much, but I wasn't really, I don't know, it seems like that was my mission. So one day I decided that I'm gonna move to Texas, and I was living in California. I have family here, but I never really communicated with them. And so when I moved here, I had a plan, but I wasn't really sure how everything was gonna go, but I knew that I had to come. So when I came, I was here for about a year, and then that's when I met my husband, and he's Yoruba. So our connection was so strong that we actually got married in, like, I would say 2 months after we met each other.
Wow.
And it was, I had a dream about him before I met him, so I knew it was him. And I've never had this kind of connection. It's like, sometimes it still amazes me, but so I said all that to say that Yoruba culture I really fell in love with, and the spirituality of everything, and doing research. I honestly, I don't even know exactly how I got into the Ori class. I think I signed up for something, and then I started getting emails, and then I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna join it just to see what it's about. And once I joined in, I was just like, oh my goodness, this is exactly what I've been looking for. And it inspired me so much that I wrote a book since January, and I discussed it in the other class. And it's just really helped me to trust Ori, and to know that when Ori is telling me something, that I really just need to listen and trust it, and know that the path that is set for me will be. Because at times I get a little impatient. I was supposed to go to Nigeria in April, but that didn't turn out. So I'm praying that I will be able to go later on this year, me and my husband. And I want to be initiated at that time. Now, I've never had a reading. I've never had a shrine. I'm still learning, like, but I love the learning that I am getting right now, because I can truly see myself growing in the way that I'm supposed to go.
Ashe. Wow. Wow. Truly, truly, like, wow, amazing. That is, I got at the dream, and then you know, being shot, and then recovering from the dream, like right there, I was, you know, amazed. dumbfounded, really. I love dreams for that reason. But I'm so thankful that, more than anything else, I'm so thankful that you are healthy and strong and vibrant and have recovered from such a difficult experience. And
Ashe.
that is a testament. One of my mottos is, the only way for you to know what you have is for you to test it.
Mm.
And in your experience, you've already had a profound test, right? And validated the strength of your destiny.
Yes.
And so you never have to doubt how powerful your destiny is and how significant your destiny is, and the things that your destiny can do. And so I hope that everything that you do going forward will be continuing to cultivate that affirmation, and reinforcing that confidence that the thing that brought you here is transcendent and is supremely important, and continue to cultivate your relationship with your destiny, so that it can continue to take you to places that you could never imagine, and like the song says, I had no idea. Look at what my Ori is taking me. I had never imagined that my Ori would take me here, but look at where my Ori has taken me. And that's, you've already lived that, and I'm certain that Ori didn't, it's not just for you to be here. There's more magnificent and miraculous things for you to experience on the horizon. Ashe. Thank you for sharing that. That's very inspirational. Fashegun, and then Osawumi.
Alafia, everyone.
Adupe.
Well, Baba, if I'm to give my story like everyone else, I'll have to actually to go pop popcorn for a drink.
Say that again. If you're to give your story like everyone else, if you're able to do what now?
I'll have to send everyone to pop popcorn, pour a nice drink, get a nice comfortable couch to sit on. My story starts from birth. My story started right after the doctor said it's a boy.
You came in swinging.
It's a long story, but so we're not gonna go there today because I know we don't have enough time.
Yes.
But what I can say, from small growing up, every spiritual person that I encountered, whether it be through someone I know or sometimes just walking up to you on the street, could have tell me who I was and who am I supposed to be, and what they were seeing in me from their third eye. And honestly, I never knew. So when I finally, the story how I even reached to Ifa Orisha, that's another couch story as well. But finally reaching, it's like you felt there was a burden off your shoulder. There was, I don't know, I can't, not bashing anyone's religion, because at the end of the day, I wouldn't like someone to speak ill about what I believe in, so I try not to speak ill about what someone else believes in.
Right.
But I can safely say some people love tailoring, and tailoring don't love them back.
Right.
Some people love pool, playing pool, but pool don't love them back. And
right.
I hope everybody understand what I say when I say Christianity wasn't for me. It was never a comfortable zone. It always left me with questions that no one could answer. Right? So upon getting to Ifa Baba, whenever you come Trinidad, we're gonna sit Wanna get whatever you sip, and when I give you my story, Baba, trust me,
Yes.
you're gonna pull your cover and go and sleep. Wow. But I don't know. Probably how to explain it, if only could understand it. It was like an animal being in a cage, and one day they finally opened the cage. And when they opened the cage, it was nothing more than freedom.
Mm.
There was no looking back. There was no doubting. You just was going, just going non-stop. There was no regret, no where am I going to be fed, who's going to give me water, where am I going to get shelter. It was just a total breakthrough in life. It was just freedom. I don't know what other word to use. It was just, you know, you reach.
Yes.
Anyone telling you you're there, you know you were there. So that's just a breakdown of me. That's the best I could give you all. What were you hoping to learn or experience in the Ori finding self?
Mm.
Because you can speak to a million people that been through certain doors, certain passages, certain rituals in life, and they will understand. They can tell you here what, okay, so you go get water, you pour water, you say this, you do this, and everything would be okay. But there's a difference when you have an idea. And then where books is concerned, Baba, I am not much, I can read, but I'm not much of a reader. I open my book, I fall asleep.
Right.
If you give me a book on how to build a table, every time I need to build a table, I'll have to read that book. But if me and you build a table together once, Baba, that's it.
Right.
So I learn hands-on. So
right.
with this class now, based on watching your videos, because I've been back and forth where you is concerned, Baba, you were popping up. There were certain PDFs that were going around on WhatsApp. Your name keep popping up. Then you came to Trinidad. Unfortunately, I was at work for that whole month you were here, and I could not get the time to come. So eventually I saw some of your videos, and I've been checking in on you. I've been doing my homework well. And based on some of the responses, I say, well, plain talk bad manners, Baba. The most you could do is lose some money, because you go by the bar, and when you sit by the bar with friends, you lose more than that for a good time. So
yes,
you could try something, and as I do again, you make or you break. 1 out of 32, right? So
yes.
And I'm gonna be honest with you. This is what, my first week, and I already got my money's worth.
I see. Yes.
I already got, and I am anticipating the rest of my month where I am going to be robbing you now, because now I'm collecting interest.
I say.
Why did I decide to participate? Well, as I said, finance self. I would personally like to confirm and to see for myself what others see. Others that have this gift, others that have this eyesight, others that could see you and tell you things without even throwing an OB, without even lighting a candle. They can just, and they always have these nice things to say, but sometimes I don't see it, because at the end of the day, you can be one, as they say, child in school is not child at home.
Right.
You understand me? So you can portray yourself to be how good of a person to everyone outside, and you know, you could be dark inside, or you could be that dark person outside, that police officer that licks down everybody and shoots to kill. And at home, you're baking, you're cleaning, you're totally flowery at home, but outside you're a total gangster.
Right.
And my mission is to know me. Know me. Find out who I am and know me. If you had to boil down a single thing, what are you taking away from the Ori? What I would take away from this, Baba, and what I would teach or show anyone that is willing to, you see what we did yesterday? You notice I was very, very quiet yesterday, right? I had nothing to say yesterday. Yesterday was, I don't know, I really can't explain it, but wow. because I know to do my Osheifa, I know to do my Oshe Osho, my Oshe Egbe. When it comes to feeding Ori or cleaning your Ori, I know how to do it with the coconut water. You chew the Obi, you put the Obi head, navel, toes. But this was something, yeah, what I saw yesterday, what I learned yesterday, what I was part of yesterday, it to me was something completely different. It was about the same way how you uplift and you praise your Orishas. It was, to me, it was giving Ori that same kind of respect.
Ashe.
It was putting Ori up on that pedestal and letting it know, well, here, letting Ori know, well, here what? I respect you also.
Ashe.
This is what belongs to you and this is for you. Because whether we know it or not, at the end of the day, as it is said, you could do 10,000 ebos, and if Ori don't accept it, all your deities, all governing Orishas, everybody could accept. And once Ori don't want it, man, you be tossing Obi the whole day, whole night trying to figure out
That's
what's
right.
wrong.
That's right.
You understand me? So I believe it because a lot of people say, well, Yemoja come and talk to me, Oshun come and talk to me, Ubaluaye come. They beg for these Orishas to come and speak to them in dreams, speak to them in visions, speak to them when they close their eyes. Because you know, all of us spiritual people have a way of saying we see better with our eyes closed, which is
Right.
true.
Right.
And but to be honest, once you're connected with Ori, at the end of the day, that is not that you discard everything else, but I believe life will be so much easier.
Mm-hmm.
And yesterday's experience is something that I am going to incorporate when I'm doing my Osheifa.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that I'm going to incorporate. It's something that I'm going to incorporate when I go to the river. I'm going to take my little extra time to sit, meditate, and you just try and connect, Baba. Try and connect, because the connection is a serious thing that is missing. And when I say that connection is missing, that brings me to your last question. What's the one thing special or unique about you when you speak to a traditional Baba from Yoruba land? They love the word submit.
Mm-hmm.
You have to submit and you have to submit and you have to submit. When you speak about spiritual Baptists, they say you have to toil in the vineyard.
Mm.
You have to submit and you have to toil. Some of them like to say you have to be a slave unto your master.
Mm.
Right? And I have no problem with that saying. I have none at all. Because if the tradition is to learn at your Babalawo's feet, that is where you have to be.
Mm.
But what we also have to understand is that we're not living in the times 103, 400 years back.
Right.
Times have changed. So back to Christianity now, where you can pull any single child, 12 years, 6 years, that grew up in any English, as a matter of fact, any part of the world, once they're not dominated by another religion, you could pull that child and that child will faster give you the Hail Mary, the Our Father, faster than the days of the week.
Right.
That's what they grew up knowing. That's what's been practiced in schools. That's what's been said at home. From the time a child is growing up, whether a parent is spiritual or not, the first prayer they teach their child is gentle Jesus, meek and mild.
Mm.
So you've been brainwashed, programmed with that in your head. But now we have people that are adults that are now finding their way back to where they're supposed to be. And there are some Babas that still tell you need to submit. And I always ask the question, how could I submit if I have a job? How could I submit if I'm already a married man with children? How
Right.
could I submit if I have certain responsibilities? Are you telling me to drop wife, drop child, drop everything, jump on a plane, run down to Nigeria, and just leave everything behind? Times have changed and we have technology now. Everyone can tell you Ugun, technology, iron. And Baba, this is something that I like and appreciate that what you are doing. first and foremost, you're using what we have now to get the message out there.
Mhm.
You're not trying to confuse the first class. I heard you, when I heard you speak, it was broken down in so much of a layman's term.
Mhm.
I believe if my son was sitting with me, he'd understand what was going on. He's 6 years old.
Right.
You understand me? There was no, all right, so here what's going on. We're going to learn to make juice. So you put water, you put Kool-Aid, you put sugar, and the next ingredient, I'm not going to tell you that. I'm going to wait till 3 years down the
Right.
line. I'm going to
Right.
see if you're worthy of getting that last ingredient. You
Right.
understand? It's up to you if you want to receive and hold the information or not. And then you give people the chance to learn at their speed.
Right.
So up to the time, you're making it easier available to incorporate learning and incorporate where we're supposed to be and what we're supposed to be doing with our daily life. And Baba, that's what I wouldn't say like, that's what I love. Because if I miss a lesson today, due to whatever life may present, 2 days down the line, if I'm in a line, if I'm at the traffic light, I could pull up on my phone and say, all right, taking at 2 minutes. Traffic in the evening, taking at 2 minutes. I'm home, nothing to do, taking at 2 minutes. I'm in work, taking at 2 minutes. And the 2 minutes adds up. It adds up.
Right.
Baba, you're gonna have a big problem with me and doing these homework because I'm not a pen to paper guy. I would video call you and I will talk your ears off. I'm gonna let you know I can give you all my homework verbal, every single verbal. But Baba, I very much appreciate what you're doing, and it's just wonderful. It's wonderful. You're not, and so far I've never heard you made a statement where, how to put it, you're poaching anyone's student, you're poaching or take anyone's children away. It's just about, this is the information, people got to know this, and hey, you gotta, it's out there. It's out there.
That's right.
It's out there. And something you said that someone spoke about, my Uluwu and my Araba says as well. I'm not gonna say who my Araba is, but they always claim to be a student.
Yes.
They always claim to be a student. I am telling myself, if my Uluwu, he's an Uluwu, now you know what level of Uluwu is.
Yes.
And if he says that he's still a student and he considers himself still in primary school,
Yes.
then I tell people I'm in the yard, in the hot sun, in the line, waiting to be interviewed for preschool, for kindergarten. I'm not even in the school yet. I'm still in the line waiting for the principal to say if I'm accepted or not.
I say.
It's a long, long, long road.
Yes.
And my mission is this. Not everything you should have to run to Babalawo for.
Correct.
Everything you should have to run to Iyanifa for. Not everything you have to run to someone to try to see what's. There are certain things that you learn because, again, back to Christianity. At a certain age, you know how to pray for yourself. So how could I be in something and I can't even pray for myself?
Right.
I pray for others. Something is wrong with my son. Yeah, we know, all right, something is wrong with my son, my daughter, my wife, whoever. Yeah, we all know. We all know Ushun is the river, Yamonja is the sea, Ulokun is the deep waters, Ubaluaye is for sickness. So something is wrong with my son and I don't even know how to call down or how to go to Ubaluaye to say, well, look, my son is sick. Baba, I need your assistance. Fix this. You understand me? But
yeah,
we walking around and everybody is, yeah. Ifa strong, Ifa Usha. These things are things that nobody teaches. Nobody, you have to be this and you have to be that to get information. And I don't understand. I don't know why. I don't know why it's so hard. It's it's so hard. Everything is so secret. You understand? Someone said you're laughing, but it's serious. Everything is so secret. And if you should get dressed on Sunday morning, and I'm telling you all, try it. Try it. Tell me I'm a liar. You get dressed on Sunday morning and pick any Christian church at random. And some point in the church, you just stand up and bawl, I am here and I'm willing to learn. At the end of that church, man, you swear you joined Facebook for the first time. The amount of people, the amount of people is going to invite you to Bible classes, invite you to studies, invite you to this, invite you to reach home by you and bring Sunday lunch too. Because they don't think if you don't have food, they're bringing food and they're bringing the word. But I don't know what is the problem with Orisha people. From the time somebody learns something, that's mine.
Right.
It's not for no one else. And Baba, again, yeah, I tell you how to talk plenty. So let me look to start a tone down and for a full stop to there. But Baba, I appreciate very much what you are doing. And Baba, keep up the good work. It's wonderful. As I say, after today, I repent prophet, man. Right now, I plant a bygone tree and I repent apples and grapes too.
Oh man, Abara Boye.
Thank you, Baba.
Thank you. Just phenomenal blessing, and I can't say thank you enough. You know, I cannot say thank you enough. Not only for you expressing the appreciation that way, but for the way in which you are really bringing us around to what I think Ifa is really all about, which is a knowledge of self, which is self-discovery. You know, I think for me that's what it always boils down to. There's all these different, let's say there's a million verses of Ifa, and they have this one thing in common, you know, which is sacrifice. You know, all the verses have that in common, sacrifice. But the sacrifice is what it tells you is that the person learns something about himself or herself in that moment of sacrifice. Because sometimes the person is high and they're powerful and they refuse to sacrifice and they realize that wasn't the best choice. Or sometimes a person is low and they feel like they have nothing and they can't, you know what I'm saying? But they struggle and they pinch this and they pinch that and they do whatever they can to make the sacrifice, and they get blessed, and you realize, wow, that was a wise decision, you know. But you learn something about yourself that I didn't think I had it in me. I didn't think that this was going to be worth it, right? But I took a chance, and it worked out. For me, it's, you know, you learn what Ifa has invited us to do every time we sacrifice is to discover something about who we really are and what's possible, you know. And Ifa will be telling us, like what you were saying, like people will see you and they can see all these different things in you and about the environment. But it's like if I can't see it for myself, you know, how real is it? How you know what I mean? Am I really there if I can't really see it for myself? And so that's what I get from all the verses of Ifa. Is everything is an opportunity for self-discovery. And that's what I heard you describing over and over and over again, that all these different experiences are sending the light inwardly, and you're able to see yourself, you're able to discover yourself. So I thank you for bringing that lesson back to me in that moment. I truly appreciate it. Last but not least, my Oshogbo brother.
Ekason, everyone.
Adupe.
Baba, I'm going to go first and read my answers because I have a tendency to not even want to raise my hand. You know, it's sometimes easy not to even say anything, but I think I robbed myself and the group by not participating. So I forced myself to put to raise my hand. All right. What I was hoping to learn was more about information about Ori and how Ori fits in the Yoruba worldview. Because I've received my Ori object, and like I said yesterday, have many times got a Ifa reading where I needed my head, Ibori.
Right.
So I've experienced that several times, you know, at a big to do ritual, put it that way. But I've never was told or had ever practiced doing figuratively an Oshe for my Ori or venerating it on a personal level like that. So I found that very interesting. The reason I decided to participate in the certification is that I recently had an Ifa reading, and it was basically told to me I needed to up my game. I needed to, there was times where I would get a reading and it would, Kenfo Kimbali, Okana, Kenfo Kimbali, like, why are you worried? Why are you worried? Should I not worry? And then they would say, you need to grab Ifa with both hands. This time, when we were going through, you made me remember, and as you was going through yesterday, I need to grab Ori with both hands.
Ashe.
You know? And again, it's sort of changing my perspective, because my concept of trying to find where Ori fit in Yoruba world was trying to find out where I fit
Ashe.
in Yoruba world, right? We began, I guess what that third question was, what did we do together? I personally feel that we began laying a foundation for a long-lasting relationship and bringing forth the good condition in the world. Because anytime that I humble myself to learn from someone, it always reminds me of the first time when I met the first Baba that actually had a workshop, Yoruba 101, and I went. And it was just, when he did his Ibas, it was music to my ears. It was the voice. It was a vibration. It just was a connection. And at the end of the course, I came up to him and I shook his hand. I said, you know, this a very powerful energy here. It says, you know what that means? It means we got some work to do. So I feel right now that we got work to do. And that's why I felt this class laid that foundation for me. If you had to boil it down to a single thing, if I had to boil it down to a single thing, it is Ori Lagba, that Ori is supreme. Ori is the greatest. And I wrote down a correct orientation. And that word orientation for me was very powerful, because it changed and shifted me in the 4 days that we were doing this course of my own orientation. I recently retired. We're in this time period where we're locked down, and my reading said I needed to up my game. So what do I start studying first? What do I learn the Odus? Do I learn Riki? You know, I just was like all over the place in my head in terms of what direction. And when I got the invite for the class, I said, okay, Ori is speaking to me. I'm going to take this class. And the whole 4 days reoriented me and centered me to know which direction and what my relationship is with Orisha, what my relationship is and how I should, the structure of studying. You know, you don't have to try and learn everything at the same time, piece by piece by piece by piece, but consistency. And yeah, well, one thing that is special or unique about the instructor? Well, what I found special or unique about you, Baba, is your welcoming energy and generosity. Your teaching method is a compassionate discipline. And I say that to say it's a balance of the hard and soft. You draw the line like this is what you need to do. Now it's your choice. You're not judgmental. You're open arms. You're listening. You're a very good listener. You know, you allow people to uncover, allow people to be naked in a sense of who they are and what's going on with them. And you're not judgmental. So you create, your presence create this safe space energy where people can be, like you said, like a baby, be born again, like a child, and come to their parent, trusting and willing to take chances because they trust what you're saying. Yeah, but so that's about it. I'm not going to take too much more time.
Aboye. That is humbling. That is humbling. That is humbling, and I'm very thankful. It's particularly the idea around, you know, creating a safe space and making a non-judgmental acceptance of the student and the person in front of me. It's very important to me. It's very important because I think people learn best in that environment. You know, first and foremost, I think people learn best because we have to try. We have to be willing to, you know, be like babies, because in the sense that how many times does a baby fall down? You can't count. They spend all day falling down, falling down, falling down. Man, my oldest son would hit his head so much when he was coming up. He would fall, he'd hit his head so much, and he's my first baby. And so I would be like, probably by the time he was, you know, 2.5 or so, man, I had to decide, I'm like, I gotta relax, I'm gonna lose it. You know what I mean? This boy is making me so anxious because he wouldn't just fall, he would hit his head, boom. But then I started to watch and I said, this guy has fallen 20 times today, but it has never crossed his mind to quit. Never crossed his mind to quit. That's the way that I need to have his attitude. I need to have his attitude. You're doing great, man. You're doing great. You know what I'm saying? You're doing great. No matter what's happening, you're falling down, you're getting scrapes, you're crying for this, you're crying for that. I'm so proud of you, though. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. You know, and this is just how, as a parent, you know what I mean? It made me realize something about learning from your child. And so I try to convey that in my teaching. And I want to be that way as a teacher. I am proud of anybody's effort to try to learn this content. It brings me intense joy to see people at every level, you know, try to get the words, try to say different things, try to do different rituals, because you don't know how far that journey is going to take the person, right? And not that the person, everyone is going to be doing the same thing. You're going to become a big priest or priestess or this, that, and the other. It really is so much of what everybody has been sharing about coming into ourselves. And that's the most fulfilling journey. I started in one place. I knew I had something in my heart and in my mind, and I fulfilled it. I expressed it. I realized it. I experienced my true self. And so I really appreciate that sentiment. And I also appreciate what you were saying, you know, in the beginning about being reluctant to share, not being reluctant to raise your hand, you know what I mean? And there's, you know, a couple of verses of Ifa that begin with, I tried to hide myself, but my Ori wouldn't allow it. I tried to take the back streets and the alleys, but my Ori wouldn't accept that. Ori said that I have to be prominent. Ori said I have to take my place. Ori said I have to reveal myself. And that is the greatest chance that we can take. That's the greatest risk that we can take on our own destiny. Every single step is, am I willing to take this risk on my destiny? Am I willing to take another step toward being, its vulnerability, based on the understanding that my destiny is something favorable? Because if I don't take the step, what it means is that I don't believe that my destiny is favorable. I don't believe that my destiny is going to be is going to elevate me or save me. And so I want to be affirming my Ori at every step of the journey. So I truly appreciate that statement. And then thirdly, what stood out was when you approached the Baba and you told him, this really resonates with me. I'm getting it. I feel it. And he says, oh, that means we got work to do. And I think that's where, where I really want to encourage everyone who's in the class and completing the certification to think about the work that we have to do. To, as you think about and you reflect on all of the stories that were shared today, and you reflect on your own story, whether you shared it or not, you realize that there are so many other people. You can hear so many other people's stories in our stories. You can hear so many other people's experiences in these experiences, and to start creating more opportunities to support people, to help people understand, hey, that there's a way for you to get answers to your questions. There are ways for you to develop yourself and fulfill your role, and to invite them to do it. Right? You say, hey, this is what's working for me. I'm in the School of Orisha Studies, and this is what I'm doing. I'm taking this class, and this is how it's working for me. Invite people to do those things because you know what the experience is. You know how people are being enriched from this experience. And I want to say this very explicitly for a couple of reasons. I love people, and as you said, there's a compassionate discipline. My lead is with love. Teaching is love. Being a priest is love. That's my first impulse. And at the same time, I have Ogun. In my ancestral lineage, there's Ogun. And so there's a militaristic dimension also. One of my early teachers taught me it's not enough to know the truth. You have to also be able to impose the truth in an untruthful environment. It's not enough to have love. You got to be able to impose love in an environment full of hate. And so that requires, we have to have an army. We have to have a unit. We got to have a strategy with tactics and some specific goals. Otherwise, we'll be perpetually overrun by the forces of evil. We'll be perpetually overrun by the opportunists and the people who are, not looking out for our best interests. And they're multiplying, right? They're multiplying. There's always, we hear people talking about, okay, these people, sliding into my DMs and telling me messages and then offering me stuff and trying to sell me this. That movement is going to guarantee to grow. It's guaranteed to grow exponentially. Every year there will be more and more people who will be, moving in just in a selfish, greedy, really limited short-term mindset. It's just inevitable. But we don't have to lie down for that, right? We can be as assertive and as open about recruiting people into a process that is inside out, into a process that does say, hey, take your time and build something gradually. we don't have to be shy about that. We don't have to be reserved about that. And we've had experiences here that allow us to say with a level of confidence, hey, here's a place where you can get information, you can learn, you can develop, and no one's going to be coaching your godchildren. No one's trying to recruit you to get this or get that. You know what I mean? I'm not interested. I'm not interested. Personally, I mean, honestly, I'm not interested. I have more than enough godchildren, if you will. You see what I'm saying? It's not my interest. I don't want to bring you onto my team. Out of 100 people, you know what? There's probably 0.1. You know what I'm saying? Who I be like, oh, I would love to have this person as my godchildren. For the most part, I want to teach. I want to make sure that everybody has proper information. Everybody is starting off with not necessarily, like I said, not the truth, but you have a realistic assessment of the environment. You're starting off with good intel. If you got good intel, you can make good decisions. You got bad intel, no matter what you're trying to do, you're kind of doomed. You know, you got a map of Detroit and you're trying to navigate LA, you're going to stay lost. So I hope, or I intend, through everything that we do here in the school, is to provide just accurate baseline information. You can go and research it. You can go and take it up with your existing spiritual community. You can follow up with me, whatever is most convenient and makes the most sense for you. That's what I want you to do. But at the very least, I want for people to have a realistic understanding of, you know, what are we dealing with? Okay, and so I want to encourage you to study the material that we've covered. Complete all of your assignments. Folks who haven't completed the assignments, complete it. Maybe, we went over it quickly. You got other things going on. It's okay. Give yourself a week. Give yourself, 2 weeks. Say, hey, you know what? By the end of the 14 days, 16 days, I'm going to complete all my assignments. I'm going to turn them in, right? I'm going to get feedback. I'm going to talk to other students who are, who seem to have grasped different aspects of something. Follow up with them and get background information and connect the dots. Do whatever needs to be done, but complete the assignments, right? And then make it accessible to other people. That's very important. I want to emphasize that at this point over and over again as much as I can, just because this is what I've seen over the years. Like I said, we're too reserved, right? The people who maybe are more altruistic tend to be a little bit more reserved. We don't recruit as much. It's like, let me put it in school terms. It's very rare that you have people who are nerds who are extroverted and really, you see what I'm saying? Saying, hey, come and join the chemistry club. Hey, come and join the math club. Hey, the Spanish club and the French club, we're meeting at lunch and we want, what I'm saying? But the people who are, rowdy in class, right? the guy who's in class who's going to be constantly diverting attention or trying to get attention for himself or attention for herself, that person is aggressive, right? And they're gonna act up every single class, and they're gonna act up in between class and during lunch and after school and on the bus. They're constantly doing things to kind of disrupt the order or draw attention to themselves and take advantage of, right? Those people never rest. That energy never rests. We need to be equally active about saying, yeah, there's an orderly way about approaching this practice. And I really want you to feel confident in bringing people in and inviting people to participate and experience what we have experienced in this particular certification, and then in the School of Research Studies overall, because there's a variety of other lessons that are available. And so that being said, I want to thank everybody, because this has been a very, in terms of time, I'm not sure how long we've been on, but I know it's been over 2 hours. So I don't want to take up any more of your time. I just want to thank you and appreciate all of your effort to learn and grow and participate in this Ori certification. And I look forward to growing with you and learning with you in the upcoming weeks and months. The playbacks are going to be ready. I'm just going to process everything. I've started putting some of it together, but by the end of, by the beginning of May, I'm going to say by the 3rd, Saturday the 2nd or the 3rd, I'll have everything up and running. We'll have it loaded up on in the School of Research Studies, but I'm also, setting it up for people who just want to take the certification. So that's why it's taking me a little bit longer to have it ready. But it'll be all set up and ready for you to go back, and at your own leisure, you'll be able to go through everything, in a timely manner at your own pace. So know that as a part of your enrollment in the silver class, this is available for all perpetuity. It's there forever. All right. So that being said, thank you very much, everybody. Enjoy your day, and I look forward to building and growing with you in the days to come. Aboro aboye, and congratulations. Odabo, everybody.
Odabo.
Double.
Oh.
Odabo.
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 Odabo, thank you.
Ashe, we thank you for.
Awesome. Just awesome.